You're listening to Tripod, the Tricycle Creative podcast, produced for anyone interested in being a better digital and content marketer. Host Ross Erosion is a marketing coach, content creator, and entrepreneur who brings you helpful tips, social media updates, inspiring interviews, and his own unique perspective on how to tell your story and grow your business. So sit back, relax, and let's get pedaling.
Father, designer, and creative Adrian Quintero joins me for this episode of 2020 Rewind. And I'm happy to report that in 2020, he fulfilled a childhood dream of being an animator. So he can now add that to his lists of skills and accomplishments. In this episode, we'll talk about a lot of things, but here's some of them. We'll discuss the importance of a support network when you're a creative business owner, the disruption of creative process when everyone is at home, and how he plans to strategically quit social in 2021. And if you enjoy this episode, please, let me ask you, could you consider leaving a review on Apple Podcasts? Just taking that 5 minutes to write something really helps me when I'm reaching out to book guests on Tripod. So thanks in advance. Let's go. 2020 Rewind, the mini-series continues with my guest, Adrian Quintero, no stranger to Tripod. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you, Rob.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure, even though I had to ask you twice, but it's okay.
You asked me. Well, you know what? It got
I
lost.
wanted you real bad.
And then there's Ross's email. And
if you could see this visual,
all
people
these
at home,
emails just keep getting piled.
People at home can't see the visual, but let me just lay it out for him. He said, "Well, it's your email," and he said towards the bottom, and then he just said other emails, and he said towards the top, and it's so rude.
Podcast
so rude
visual.
to me. Yeah, that's right. That's okay. A lot of people thought too, was like, well, that seemed like you sent that email like it was like a blast email. I was like, well, it was, but I selected like 15 of the people that I wanted on it wasn't to everyone. I don't want to sit down and do this interview with everyone, Adrian. Trust me. Trust me. I don't
have the time.
I don't have the interest. Forget about time. I don't have the interest.
I don't care.
So thank you so much for taking the time and having the interest.
Yeah.
Joining me. We're talking 2020 and what a subject it is to talk about. I want to start with the good and ask you, well, actually, hold on. Let me talk a little bit for people who don't know you. Shame. Introduce yourself. Tell them what you do.
Oh man, I am Adrian Quintero. I have been I've considered myself an Austin artist probably since I moved to Austin from Round Rock. I mean, not very far. Austin was always the stomping ground, but I tried to be a visual artist, and I think I was successful, and then it didn't pay the bills, or maybe I didn't have the mindset to be really successful and charge, or confident enough to charge a lot of money for my pieces. Therefore, I think I lost a lot of money, and it discouraged me. So I found other professions, and then after a while, some of those didn't work out, and I became a graphic designer. I went back to school at the Art Institute of Austin. And that's where Ross and I met.
Where our paths crossed.
Our paths crossed, yes.
It was the greatest moments.
It was. I knew you had ideas and things up your sleeve. You kept asking me about things. Do you know how to? And do you know anything about? I knew all you were doing was searching. You were just
if
you were in that office just Googling.
If the meanest thing anyone ever says about me is that they got this feeling that I had ideas, I will take it every single day and I'll cash that check. So yeah. I did. And by the way, I did have ideas, but I needed people who were much better at executing than I was. I'm an idea man, as you know, from the sketches that I provide you with the work that we do together. So, okay, now let's talk 2020.
Let's do that.
What is one good thing that happened to you, or by extension, your business this year?
I would say the best thing is a childhood dream came true. I'd always wanted to be an animator as growing up. Had always had these, and I still do today, the little Post-it notes, sticky Post-it notes. And I would, if you can hear that, that's them flipping through. And
an audio animation.
I used to draw on every single one of those. And make little animations back when I was like 5th, 6th grade. And my dad might even have a couple of them left, but I'd always wanted to be some kind of professional animator. And I went to ACC and I learned a little bit about traditional animation, Austin Community College. And then just continued just to watch a bunch of anime and cartoons all over the place, everything. And I just loved it. So this year, for the very first time, I put in a bid for and sent a proposal to an Irish musician, singer-songwriter, Siobhan O'Brien. She's got a beautiful voice and a great song that she had, and she wanted some animation with it. So, and she had seen my process videos for Irish musician Pat Byrne, and
you know what a sucker I am for those process videos.
Yeah, man. I'm a sucker
for them. If you're not following process videos on Instagram, I don't know what you're doing.
They're so relaxed. Just to see in 30 seconds or a minute to see all the strokes that the artist makes is so. She asked me if I could do that in an animation and somehow incorporate those. So she gave me that idea and that task, and I gave her a bid, and she accepted it and drew out the contract, did all that kind of stuff. And it took me about 3 months all on my own. And I did it in Procreate and After Effects, Adobe After Effects. And you can see it on Vimeo. I think maybe her website might have it.
We'll put links to it in the show notes, as always, tripodpodcast.com.
I'll send you the Vimeo.
You can see Adrian's animation work for this artist there. So this was a big year as far as this kind of, I'll say a new project or some new, very unique client work.
Mm-hmm. It was, yeah. Musicians, that was another good thing that came out of 2020, although the pandemic and the quarantine was frightening for a lot of people and sad still, and still is quite challenging for a lot. It meant that most of my clientele have been musicians. So they did what they did best in solitude, and they started writing songs and singles and just letting a
lot of EPs were released.
EPs
the last couple months. Yeah, for sure.
So one of the bands that I constantly do stuff for, Cilantro Boombox, they had their third one. I just finished one yesterday, and we're about to see which one they choose. But they released singles, and they did it all magically through in the quarantine as well. Rarely were they in the same studio. They would just record themselves and then send it to the next guy. And then they would lay their track over it. And it was there's just some magic that comes out of it. So I was asked to do a few of those, 3 of them. Cool. So that was really nice as well.
So you mentioned obviously the challenge for musicians, artists, right? But let's talk about what were some of the biggest challenges that you had this year, personally, professionally, as a creative business owner?
Well, personal and professional kind of collided when it comes to challenges, man, because it's I'm in my office, which is really the entryway to my home, and we have turned into a big giant. It probably was like supposed to be a dining room, a formal dining room,
a sitting room,
a den, a small sitting room,
sitting room for your tea parties that you're having
in 1986.
That's right, with the Jell-O mold that gets put out.
Exactly. So we have transformed this room into a cool little. I have my DJ stuff and records, and then bookshelves and office stuff, and so all my design work was here. And when I graduated. In late 2015, December of 2015, 2016, I was out the gates. I was going to be an entrepreneur, solopreneur really, and do this by myself because I was getting a bunch of rejection letters as well. So, and I was already getting.
I don't know. I remember. Let me say this. I remember talking with you around that time too.
Yeah.
And I don't know even how. I don't know how keen you ever were. I don't want to blow up your spot here, but I don't know how keen you like. I think you've always had the entrepreneur bug
Yeah.
in you.
Yeah.
You know, I think that you knew deep down that was the path that you were going to go. I think you had to explore those options, but I don't know. I always felt like this is where we were kind of going to land.
Yeah. I had the feeling too. And I think the hustle of being a visual artist from where I came from in the past 20 years ago and trying to hustle that and do that, and that kind of talk, and that talk that I got used to was selling myself and selling my skills. That came in handy. So, and then I had a great group of friends, and we're all kind of the same age. So we're all kind of doing the same thing. Let's, forget this 9 to 5
The support network's important,
Mm-hmm.
particularly again, when I say that, you are a creative business owner, you're like double down. You're a creative business owner who's doing creative work.
Yeah.
You need that support network. And I will also point out, as we're talking right now, when you were talking about the intersection, if you will, of personal and professional, that kind of thing. It's quiet there today. Now, this is true for a lot of people who have kids like you do, right? It's the challenge of maybe finding the quiet time or the time at all, right? To get to work.
That is the challenge today. This was the challenge right here. This quiet, this silence that you're hearing right now, Ross.
What did you do to your children?
What's that?
I said, what did you do to your children?
I sent him out. No, I sent one to his room and told him not to come out until 4 p.m. And the dog's up there with him, so that dog doesn't bother me. And my wife took my daughter out for just a little joyride. They were going to run some errands. But
cool. Well, I appreciate you locking up your kid for an hour. For me.
Yeah, he's still in class anyways. It didn't
Oh, okay, got it. Yeah.
And
how have you coped with that? Because your kids were they virtual schooling also, or do they do virtual school?
They're doing remote right now. My son is in his room. He's in 6th grade, and he's in his room from about 8:30 in the morning to about 4 o'clock. And then my daughter is kind of around the house. We still have to assist her a little bit, but she's on an iPad from 8 a.m. to about 3:30 as well, 3 o'clock. So
I'd imagine that was a big disruptor for your creative process.
That was.
It
slowed down the internet connection so much. And that was the worst thing.
Yeah.
No.
I don't know how you work, but I work, I'm like, I'm watching YouTube videos on one screen and I'm working on something on the other, or I'm listening to music. I'm working on something.
That was old me. That was when I went the solo thing, and I was like, I'm just going to be AQ design, and I'm just going to do this, and I'm going to be my own thing and my own designer and my own boss. And I sat here, I watched movies on the big screen, and I would sit on the couch. Sometimes I would sit on the kitchen table, or here in my office, here at my desk, or out on the patio, or at a coffee shop if I didn't want to be here. And that was all day from 7 o'clock in the morning till about 3:30. And I had it quiet in here, and I had what I needed to be creative. And that was the challenging. Now I have to share my space with, of course, 3 other people that I love so much. But my wife is in grad school, and she's working for the university. And at the beginning of the quarantine, before they all got let go, she was sitting here right next to me doing all her work from home. So that was the hardest thing, to really make this adjustment in the house to make sure that everybody was set up to be successful. We couldn't just be like, go to your room, or, and tell my daughter, go over there and do your iPad. We had to make sure that
everyone pick a corner. Everyone has a corner.
Yeah.
That's how,
in 1,200 square feet, there's not a lot of corners that are quiet.
It's funny you bring that up, because we don't have kids, but I will tell, and I work out of my home, and I would go to some client stuff, but it's all been virtual now. But it's been an adjustment for me too, because, and I guess it's okay, my wife never listens to my podcast, spoiler alert, so she's not going to hear this lovely thing I'm going to say about her. I love spending time with her. She's not here today. I love spending time with her. And it has actually been really hard during the pandemic to be like, all right, I got to like be in my office for like 4 hours, 5 hours and like just be alone and focus on stuff. You know, it's been hard. And that's just, you know, one minimal distraction, if you will, or like, oh, let's go take the dog for another walk or something like that. You know, distractions are hard and they're hard for every business owner. But I do really feel like when your work is of the creative type, you know, it's like I can fire off emails, right? And it doesn't require creative thought, and I can move projects along, right? I think it's more of a challenge just to maybe move projects along without that creative time, you know, because that's what moves the project along. Is that creative time that you put into coming up with ideas, concepts for logos, animations, things like that. I can appreciate how that would be a bigger challenge. So I want to ask you, we've talked about the good thing, we've talked about the challenge. What do you plan to change or improve about business life in 2021?
Keep listening to your podcasts.
I don't believe that.
And your videos and stuff.
I do. You know,
the review was great. Not too long. Just recently, it was really awesome. It brings
me such joy that people actually, and this is going to like sound stupid. Maybe not. I don't know. It just brings me such joy that people like comment or send me a message like, hey, this was really helpful. Like I did my sales process video I did. I sent that to a client. I was like, hey, you should check this out. And he was like, this is so helpful. And then you sent me some notes on things where you're like, hey, this was really helpful. I know you sent me messages after watching some of them. And weirdly enough, I took a step back recently and my YouTube channel has been blowing up since I've walked away. I took a little bit of a break because I was doing a video a week and that was a lot of work. But like a couple of my videos are like really gaining traction and they're getting a lot of comments. People are saying like, this is really helpful. Thank you. Feels good, you know? So thank you. I appreciate that.
I want to, I'd also like to focus more or not focus so much. And you kind of did this just last week, step away from social media a little bit, or the ones that you're relying on a lot of. And we all know which ones they are. You don't have to sit here and say their names out loud, but they take a lot of my time up. More time I should be my nose, down in my work doing stuff, but my nose is in my phone. Yeah. Face is looking down and thumbing through social media.
The endless scroll.
But I also started to rely on social media to gain clients and all that. I felt so much and so involved in that. And you even more so. I mean, I couldn't imagine the work that you put in. Yours is double that of what I am doing, but I'm still kind of relying on this magic that's supposed to happen on social media when really it should be me putting in that work. So I am going
tied to that, I will say this, we're talking about that magic of even client acquisition or attracting people, right? It's just kind of like, it's like a lot of other aspects of marketing or even of life. If you try to do it all, you're really not going to do a good job at most of it. Right. So the idea there is, and you're talking about my No Facebook November.
Yes.
Yes. The idea there is to strategically and intentionally and with purpose make these decisions, not just willy-nilly, but like make the decision based ideally on some metrics, and then say, okay, at this point, I'm going to reevaluate or take a look at what this is doing. And I've cut out Facebook for the month of November, which is weird as a digital marketer, but I'm going to tell you, it feels good. And I'm going to keep, because I have also come to realize as much work as I was putting into Facebook, right? I wasn't getting it back.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that that's true of everyone. Some people, Facebook may be their jam and Instagram's not giving them back, right? It's unique to each business and each person and that kind of thing. But I looked at numbers for the past 6 months. I looked at hours I was putting in, and I'm like, I'm not getting anything out of this. So instead, I'm going to spend more time on Instagram, spend more time on my podcast, spend more time on my website. And I'm still going through it as we record this, right? Mm-hmm. Towards the tail end ish of it. But I just feel more fulfilled by doing those things too.
Yeah. Same here. To not log in, Ross, I haven't even logged in to see photos of my cousin's kid or, all that stuff.
That's amazing. Cause I've just not Facebooked for brand. Let me just be
clear. Try not coming through that website for a while. It does a world of good.
If the benefits are akin to what I'm feeling with the brand, just not doing my brand account, Tricycle Creative's brand account, I got to believe the hype and what I've read of people who get rid of Facebook, how you feel it transforms you.
I'm definitely,
and that's weird to say as a marketer, but it's true.
I think it all has to go back to those adjustments. If I was here by myself, without quarantine and the kids and my wife all having to work out of the house as well, I think I could probably still be on Facebook. But now that I have a first grader to look after, I have to make sure that I'm respectful to my wife's Zooms and her classes. I got to check on my son. It's just one of those. And then it was just so toxic.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I
mean, I picked a good time to bounce out even on a brand side.
You couldn't have an opinion on there, your own opinion on your own page without somebody telling that your opinion's wrong. We could talk all day about the toxicity, but I just couldn't do it anymore. So I'm finding myself way more creative and productive without it,
I would encourage you on that. And I would just say, encourage you to also just be strategic with it, right? What kind of almost like a Seth Godin thing, but the strategic quitting, right? Quit with purpose. Quitting is okay, particularly when you're an entrepreneur or small business owner. It's okay if you're doing it strategically with purpose and thoughtfully, And so, and that's what I'm doing. Like, I don't know. I might go back and do stuff on Facebook. I don't know, but I'm setting up, I'm trying it out and seeing how it feels and how it works for me.
I have shared and posted, and from Instagram or from my phone or something, shared a link, but I haven't gone and cared. I don't care about who likes it or who's seeing it or who's commenting on it.
That's a big part. And also I will say, as we do record this towards, in the month of November, Instagram just did a big UI update. And they've moved things around. There's been talk too. I mean, it hasn't happened yet, but there was talk about 4 months ago that Instagram would be getting rid of the like counts and that kind of thing. At least publicly facing like counts. It hasn't happened yet, but I'm intrigued by the new interface where they've moved notifications around to a spot on the screen, which you're a better UI UX person than I am, or at least design person, but where it's not as prioritized, interestingly enough. So I'll be curious to see if this is the glacial move towards removing that permanently, maybe from the platform. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I really don't. I really don't. I hope you've come prepared for this last question, and I suspect that you have. I leave it very open-ended, but I want to know what recommendations you have for people out there, and from the worlds of design, business, music, TV, comics. I think last time we did this with you, you had a good list of things that I subsequently went and checked out. So I will yield the floor to you to tell me and share some of your recommendations.
I have a list of 6 very important
Whoa,
things.
He came prepared. Karangabong was the one I butchered it. Karungbin was last time we chatted.
And now you're their biggest fan, aren't you?
Adrian Adrian's been on the podcast several times, so please go check out his other episodes, tripodpodcast.com. Love that band. I dig him so much. So,
cool.
okay, 6 recommendations. He's bringing it, folks. Start number 1.
My biggest one for 2021 that I need everybody to do is use Bandcamp to download music.
Ooh, interesting.
And listen to music on Bandcamp. Stop using Spotify and other bands. I use iTunes. I'm not saying that I've severed ties with all the devils and the bigwigs, but Bandcamp gives so much more back to their users and the musicians. And they even, since the quarantine started, I believe they do Bandcamp Friday. It's the first Friday of every month. 100% goes back to the bands. That's a good day. I might start posting that even more and more on my Instagram. But I like there's a lot of great bands on there too. Every band that you think might not be on there is on there. So
hey,
I have a nice list of local Austin bands, and I just sent every now and then I'll put some in my cart, and it's a name your price. Most of the time I do about $2 a song, and I feel good about it. Makes me feel good in my heart.
Support your local, or even not local. Support the musical arts, as it were, in a better way. I came from the streaming media world. I know, the fractions of cents that they get, right. And that, I've been removed from it a little bit. So yeah, that's awesome. I love that. Bandcamp, number 1. Okay.
Bandcamp. And we'll keep it on the music vibe. I think I've sent you this band's name as well. SAULT. SAULT. Yep. SAULT, like assault.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You were like one of 2 or 3 people that sent that to me.
Man, go dig it all.
It's a jam.
All of it.
It's a jam.
All of it.
It's good.
And
it's really
they, she, them, they have different style. They're like chameleons a little bit too. Mm-hmm. Like, this is kind of, this is
I
kind of
noticed
love
that.
and sensual song. And then now she's talking about police brutality and foots on necks, and
yeah, it's kind of hard to nail down that one song that's this is their sound.
Yeah.
They're very amorphous, you know?
It's a very good one.
Okay. Love it.
So that's that. And let's see. TV, I have Queen's Gambit on Netflix.
See, that one's burned. That one's been lighting it up recently. I feel like that's going to have to be added to my list.
I would do that.
That's a Netflix.
That is
show.
Netflix.
Queen's exclusive, Gambit. I believe.
What'd you say?
It's a Netflix exclusive, I believe.
Yes, made for Netflix, and it's about chess. And there you go.
Did you ever play chess?
I wish if there's one thing I wish I could play right now is chess.
I never learned
teach
proper.
Me, and
I do know how the pieces move,
mm-hmm.
but I never learned anything more than that. At proper strategy, as it were. But I guess you could argue that you could spend a lifetime and not learn all of the strategy, as it were, around chess. But okay. Yep. Queen's Gambit.
Gambit. And a family favorite right now is The Mandalorian on Disney.
Oh, so good.
Spaghetti Westerns, Jon Favreau, Mandalorians, the man.
It's so good.
The myth.
I'm wearing the shirt right now, if I may.
The Boba Fett shirt.
Know. Yeah.
Just
so
the
good.
Mandalorians themselves. Yes.
Yeah, it's such a good show. I'm going to tell you too, it goes really fast.
It does.
I get mad. I'm like, what do you mean that's the end of the episode?
Mm-hmm.
What the hell?
And then, and then Moff Gideon's not in it enough. You have some great villains that I just want to see every episode. And,
I will say this. It is it's like this redeeming, story show for the Star Wars. I say Empire, but that's not right. Shouldn't say Empire. The Star Wars saga, if you will, because so many people were so disappointed with how the Skywalker movies ended.
Right.
The 9. We're so mad with the last
I
one.
can forgive about how
Right?
the last trilogy kind of just
Yeah.
was put together.
Yeah. Like the
Um,
callback of Palpatine. Like it's like they called him in from like the bullpen,
spoiler alert.
like
Spoiler alert.
yeah. Oh, oh, oh no. I mean, not
Not
Palpatine.
Palpatine.
Close.
Good. Good.
Yeah, a lot of people did not love that, but I don't know anyone that doesn't love I mean, my wife, when I go to Star Wars movie, she goes, she's into them. She's not anti Star Wars at all, but she like digs The Mandalorian.
Dude, it made up for everything. That's what I was going to say. I could forgive all the stuff that they did in this last trilogy, kind of the rushing it out the door and getting it in theaters and made in products. But Mandalorian is where it's at. If they continue to do what they're doing with the Mandalorian in their movies or in any other, if they come out with a Ben Kenobi series or spinoff, it's got to be like this. John Favreau's got to be at the helm, just like Kevin Feige at the helm of all Marvel movies.
It's the new standard bearer of Star Wars, stuff. Right? And that's an exciting thing. For people who did not love how the Skywalker series ended, I really think that this is a standard bearer, a new standard bearer for the stories that can be told inside of the Star Wars universe. And there's so many more. There's no loss of opportunity. There's so many stories that still can be told. So yes, Mandalorian, absolutely love it. What else? That's 4, right?
That was 4. I got 2 more just real quick. The first one is a podcast that I have zipped through is the Night Owl podcast. It's
Night Owl
podcast.
Okay.
It's about this is just I love being entertained by the paranormal. Ooh. And I have my own little minute beliefs and whatnot and experiences with the paranormal. But
I'm downloading it right now.
I love his voice. He's got a great voice for a podcast and a spooky podcast, but it's not. Ooh. It's about Austin area stuff. So the tavern downtown. It's about Pioneer Farms.
Is it called the Night Owl podcast? Correct? Because there's a couple of night owls on here. It's not Night Owl Radio, right?
It's
got Night Owl podcast. Restless Spirits Tune. Yeah, that seems like
that's the one. And he has kind of on scene kind of recordings of places, haunted homes, and then he has a campfire podcast.
Yep.
And he just talks of, it's over the phone. The podcast, the interviews are over the phone. Well, we went here and we saw this and this happened. I just love it to pass the time. I don't want politicals, when I don't want Gary V in my ear. I don't want anything else, and just something a little entertaining. I'll listen to crime stuff and haunted stuff.
That's off. Like my mind for that is Office Ladies.
Yeah.
I listen to that podcast just for like the, just to turn my brain off a little. So every once and again, you got to do that. Yeah. Let me also recommend one that you might like. And I think it's like the arc is done. I could be wrong, but we listened to it when we drove down to the beach on vacation. It's called The Chameleon. Starts a little slow, gets interesting though. You might dig it. And everyone else out there, The Chameleon. Yeah, it's about a kind of this Hollywood scam. Very interesting, and definitely like true crimey. It's a true story. It's not so yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah, I love the true story stuff.
Real good.
My wife and I listened to one that was like the Black Dahlia, like the family of the Black Dahlia murder or whatever that was. And that was just crazy. How messed up, just because grandpa killed somebody a long time ago or whoever it was, their father, and how it just.
Did you ever listen to Shit Town?
Shit Town?
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
Good one?
Oh.
Writing it down.
Shit Town's amazing. Oh, amazing. Anyone out there, you need to listen. It's so good. It's so intriguing, so interesting. I just, I like storytelling, and it's really good. And again, it's true. at least like 99% that's true. It's really good, and you'll fly through it too.
Good.
So, okay.
Last one.
So that brings us, drum roll, please.
Procreate 5X.
I knew that was going to be the sixth. I knew it.
Man, if you have an iPad and you like to draw, you like to doodle, you like to trace things, it doesn't matter. You take it. You're a photographer and you want to draw and doodle on top of your photography. It will do it all. It will animate. You can animate in this program.
Yeah, it's awesome, and it's actually
hundreds of layers on it. You can, if it's just crazy. It's crazy. I'm doing all of my work. The project we're working on currently right now, Ross. I'm drawing all of that in Procreate. I just could not do that in an Adobe product out there, and not unless I had.
That's so amazing because it speaks to it's an iPad only app, right?
It is iOS only.
Yeah. So, I mean, it just speaks to those worlds of mobile and desktop even becoming closer together. And you're seeing that with Apple made an announcement this week as far as like, using their own chips and everything like that, that it's going to potentially that world's going to get blurry, right? The desktop and the mobile. I don't know how I feel about that, but the idea that a developer can make an app and then the app works on everything, that's pretty interesting. We'll see. Yeah. We'll see. Some things are best set for just one or the other. Yeah. But yeah, you've been loving Procreate. I know that. And then also, my marketing assistant, she got an iPad and she loves Procreate, and a lot of those progress videos on Instagram, which I love. Usually done with at least one part of its Procreate.
It's all Procreate. Procreate will record. You have to set it up, but you don't have to do it every time. It's just in the settings. It records every stroke, every little stroke, every erase mark, every accidental touch. And it puts it together in a little process video. And you can set it now to where it's 4K. You can be it can be a 4K lossless video now.
You turned me on to that one guy on Instagram. I don't remember his name or his account
animator,
name.
the Russian logo and animated logo guy.
If you just do hashtag Procreate search on Instagram, you'll find great stuff. Or let's do this. Let's cut to the chase, my friend. How can people follow and connect with you?
You can go to atxquintero.com. That is my website. You can find everything from my logos to album covers and gig posters and all that good stuff.
Couple real good logos.
Couple of them.
Maybe
3 or 4.
Maybe you'll recognize from Tricycle Creative, perhaps.
Let's see. And ATX Quintero everywhere. Facebook, Instagram. I'm AQ_design DSGN on Instagram as well. And it's all strictly just design. I might start doing some DIY kind of low grade design help for people, do's and don'ts for those that want to do it themselves. So
that would be good. And I think again, Procreate makes maybe that a little more accessible.
Yeah, I think so, man. And it's so easy to do, and I really love it. It's very approachable, and there's nothing really too confusing. And if you can't figure something out on Procreate, you can, you Google it or you search it.
There's a community. There's a community
on Instagram. Their Instagram account alone have some great advice tips and stuff like that. But you can find me on Twitch as well, ATX Quintero. I do some live drawings throughout the week, and I have a small DJ set on Sundays, sometimes on Fridays, but mostly on Sunday mornings. I play a bunch of vinyl on Twitch, kind of ease into your Sunday, kind of low key stuff, nothing big. But yeah,
these are all the places you can find him. I encourage you to connect with him, follow him. I I've said it every other episode. I'll say it again. I love the work that Adrian does. I think he's a very talented designer, creative, now animator. It was always in you, but at least now, like you have a project you can put up on the shelf and point to. But I always knew you're going to be able to do that. So I'm excited about 2021 for you. And if you're out there and you're need some help with logo or want to create a logo, please hit up Adrian. I highly recommend his work. He is, after all, the father of Tricycle Creative's logo. So of course I'm a little biased, but it's my show, damn it. So I can do that. So with that, this 2020 Rewind episode comes to a close. And as always, I encourage you to keep pedaling.
Thanks for listening to Tripod. Be sure to subscribe and rate the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, Stitcher, or wherever you listen. Show notes can be found at tripodpodcast.com. Connect with Tricycle Creative on social media at Hello Tricycle, and learn more about how we can help you with your marketing at tricycle-creative.com.